Hello and welcome back to Business with Smith Co. Today we're going to be talking about TakeOvers. What's the name? Acquisitions. Let's head straight in. So, a takeover or acquisition is when one business goes ahead and says, okay, we're going to take control over another. This would be with or without the business's consent. This would be by buying 51% or more of its shares. So, sometimes it gets divided, but basically it gets divided into two main parts. These would be kind of just general sort of things where I go to you. It's a bit like a merger. I go to you, okay, well, we want to buy 51% of your shares, so let's go, sign away, 51%, our business now owns 51% of yours. Except the point is, it's not a merger, because a merger is when two businesses come together to be one legal entity, but it's where the two of them have, well, generally equal kind of ownership. My shares in my own business become shares in this new business. We're all one, we're all together, and we all agree. We're all on the same playing front. But takeovers tend to be more like, no, we're buying your business. We're buying yours. We are going to continue to be our business. Your business will be pushed underneath our ownership. It's not the same as a merger in that sense, because instead of coming into one legal entity, it's no, you will come into our legal entity. Now, as I said before, it can be agreed upon or it can be not agreed upon. And this will be considered a hostile takeover. This is when the directors of the company recommend to its shareholders not to accept the takeover offer given to them, or if it's a publicly traded company, if the business if the business is selling the shares, if one business just comes in and just buys 51%, suddenly now that business controls this business. Yeah. Now there are some advantages to takeovers, but the problem is that, well, advantages in business are sometimes a problem, because I might say, well, there's advantages to branding, for example, but here's the thing. There are two different types of advantages when it comes to branding. There's for consumers and for businesses. And those are two various things. For example, the advantage to takeovers, you could say economies of scale. Because when a business becomes bigger and one takes over another business, it can then get raw materials more cheaply if purchasing in bulk at higher quantities than before. But here's the thing. If they don't drop the price or do something like that, then how is that beneficial though for the consumer? It's beneficial for the business. It's not beneficial for the consumer. And you also have accessing new markets. A business could take over another business that operates in a market in which it does not normally operate. This would be a very quick way to kind of enter the market. In a way, this is similar to merging, except obviously, merging, you have that system where both businesses come together instead of just one taking over this area. It can be effective and it can increase sales, because obviously you may have actually, some businesses will find this out where they've actually reached the maximum amount of customers they can get, They may have a monopoly in the industry they're in. They may have a lot of loyal customers and all these kind of things, and they cannot really expand any further. Unless, of course, they expand into, other markets. Now, you also have the whole thing of access to new products and ideas. So business might acquire another business to increase the number of products it sells, or to be able to get companies, copyrights, patents, or ideas. For example, if you wanted to own the copyright to business with Smith Co. or, History Talk, then you'd need to approach me and say, we'd like to take over business. Or, of course, if the business is registered on a stock exchange, just buy it. Which is obviously a problem, because then I'm going to be like, what? No, I didn't want what? No! Now, there's a history of this, because, a lot of businesses will want patents and things that another business has, and they're useful as well, because, it means that, well, you now protect yourself from, having this area, and you're able to, protect from possible competitors. And that's the main thing. A business might eliminate a competitor in order to stop it from growing and becoming a large threat in the marketplace. Because if I'm a small business, I'm not going to be a threat to a company. They can buy me out very easily, very simple. But if they let me continue to grow, that business can let me continue to grow. It does nothing about it. Doesn't do anything about it. Doesn't try to crush me. Doesn't try to undercut me. Doesn't do anything. Then suddenly I become bigger. I'm bigger. I'm bigger. I'm bigger. Now, I may not, but here's the thing. When you've got thousands of businesses that are all startups, that are all kind of, or startups or smaller businesses, then the problem is, while yes, they will be fighting each other, you may have one that comes out. Now, it may take 1,000, it may take 999 failures to reach the level of this business, because of just sort of area out here where it's easier to, it's hard to reach a level where you can actually have a foothold in the market if there already is a company there. But if a company doesn't do anything about it, doesn't buy the business, or doesn't undercut or anything, then I may face further down the line a business that was a startup, that was smaller than them, so there might be competition. And this is why a few businesses, especially large ones, have had a long history of just taking over startups, taking over this, and oftentimes this also involves asset stripping. There's also disadvantage of takeovers. There's a lot of capital required. A business making a takeover bid usually needs to offer a price higher than the current market price to incentivize enough shareholders to sell their shares, so it's very costly. Because unless you've already got 51% of shares listed on the stock exchange, then you don't have, enough shares in the business to buy, to get that 51%. So you need oftentimes to offer that high price. Some businesses have cost billions to buy. They're not necessarily worth $1 billion, but Now, what happens when you have a hostile takeover? If the takeover is hostile, there might be continuing conflict with the remaining directors, shareholders, or staff, disrupting business operations. Because I don't want to sell my business, but you buy it anyway. I mean, but I may not feel good. I feel miserable. You just bought my business, and perfectly well, yeah, legally, you're not going to go to prison, you're not going there, but I am still going to find that a little bit unjust, I was running a business perfectly well there. I didn't really need necessarily capital, but suddenly it's like, no, we bought your shares from the shareholders. Boom, we now have 51% of your shareholders. Now we're going to make all these decisions. Now, that is a problem, because that can cause tremendous conflict further down the line, and even there's also a high risk of failure, because takeover is very expensive, so it carries a large financial risk should it fail to succeed. If I'm a business, unless I'm buying a business which is very small, or smaller than mine at least, then I'm going to run the risk. Mergers tend to cost, can cost very little, because both businesses are going to benefit from this. But in this scenario, only one business is going to benefit. And that's the business that's taking over, because you're not going to be, a business that's going to be working with this business. You're just going to be underneath them. Your profits are not going to go in. You're going to stay in your business. Your profits are going to go up to that business. You'll see this with multiple businesses that they don't actually they don't even though they're a business that could inject capital into them, that could inject things, they don't. They just let that business continue to operate, and they just keep the majority of its profits, and that is a problem, because what that means is that oftentimes you've got this issue of what do you do, and sometimes outside of your business, well, I don't want to take the risk, and I don't want to do a merger, because that would mean permanency. Obviously, all the time, one benefit of takeovers, of course, is that because you're not a legal entity, because you are a legal entity, just buying another legal entity, you're not coming together. So the benefit of that would be you are able to sell afterwards. If my business and I own 51%, I'm still able. I own those shares. That business isn't brought into my business. That business is just it's underneath. I'm its parent company essentially a lot of the time. So what that means is that if I have 51%, I'm able to necessarily sell those shares later down. And in fact, sometimes that could even be a benefit if you've actually injected capital into that business and you've helped it grow, then that can actually benefit you by just selling those shares, yeah. But if you don't want to do that, then you might want to consider a business alliance. And that's what we'll be talking about in the next video. Please join us then. If not, you can view other videos. You can also subscribe to the channel. That'll be absolutely perfect. And, you can, if you don't want to view other videos, but now I need the feature to this. Bye bye for everything. I hope you enjoy the rest of your existence.